Well, thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here tonight. My name is Jess Flynn. I am in Collingwood, Ontario, and I've been here for 10 years already, which is
Wow.
bonkers. Um, I moved here to start my teaching career. I've been a secondary teacher going on 11 years. And like you said, serial entrepreneur. So I also started that when I moved to Collingwood because it's just kind of a community of entrepreneurs and a community of people who follow their dreams and listen to their hearts. And that was fairly like a new concept for me when I came here in my early 20s. So it's been a phenomenal journey with very diverse experiences from, spa and healthcare industry to construction companies and everything in between. And kind of combining my love of entrepreneurship and education and youth. This summer, we're launching Be Your Own Boss virtual entrepreneurship camp, which is helping teens to discover their limitless potential. And we're doing that through the discovery of entrepreneurship. So it's myself along with 10 other entrepreneurs in various sectors from various, educational backgrounds, all coming together to support some youth who have maybe been a little bit underserved, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, as we all have been. And so, getting these incredible people to join me was so easy because they were chomping at the bit to try and give back to our youth across the globe. So we're really excited. That camp launches July 5th and goes virtually, but live. Every day there's live mentoring up until July 30th.
Amazing. Fantastic. And I have a young entrepreneur that will be joining the group, and she's very excited. She just started making some jewelry, and yeah, everybody's
so
saying,
I like to have her.
I know it's going to be exciting. And she's like thinking, I don't know, everybody's saying that this is a good idea, that I should make this. When are you selling your stuff? And yeah, so it's interesting. It's quite ironic too that you're a teacher, which is the stereotypical parent's dream, isn't it? Like, become a teacher, become a doctor, become a lawyer. There's prestige, there's security, and it's every parent's dream to watch their child do well. However, you have followed that dream, career, and from there have probably learned a lot about what children need, what teenagers need. And also you've gone the traditional way and you've gone the non-traditional way, which I think, I don't love that term, but you have gone a different route, one that maybe is not as predictable or a little bit risky, but it's filled your cup. That's the thing. You can sense your passion. It's not a scary thing for you because you love doing it. And of course, there's always fear behind it with something new, even if it's a 9 to 5
anything
job.
great, right? There's often a touch of fear, for sure.
Of course, right? So help me understand why things need to be a little bit different. I mean, what is the traditional way of thinking, and how do you teach that differently, that
Right.
it's not about just getting that career, and not to say that that career isn't bad, because I think my 9 to 5 career really formed who I am and has created more of my entrepreneurial spirit. And I saw gaps in the system, and that's why I created my business, right? So tell me a little bit about the ways that you're trying to change that traditional way of, this is the way we do things, this is the way we talk to our kids.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming at it from a parent myself. Like, my kids are quite young, but the perspective of a mother and a concerned parent about the type of system they'll be being sent to. And then, being in that school system for 11 years and seeing very little progression of that curriculum over not only my 11 years teaching, but since I was in high school, more than 11 years ago, and seeing the rapid pace of the job market change. I mean, look at the amount of change that we've seen just in the last, 15 months.
Right.
And that the school system, it's so large and it tries to service so many people that it's just slow. It's slow to update. And so, what I think entrepreneurship, first of all, is really about a mindset. You can be a teacher and an entrepreneur. You can be, a very good dentist friend of mine is a serial entrepreneur. And if anything, it gives you kind of that base or a foundation of stability, but it leaves your mind open to chase a dream, to solve a problem. One of the things, I have a beautiful network of teaching friends, and I'm still very connected to the teaching community here, but entrepreneurs don't complain in the staff room on Mondays. There's always just solution. There's conversation and then solutions to problems. And then my favorite part is that there's action. Entrepreneurs act and try and maybe fail and learn. And so, lifelong learning is something that is a buzzword in our public education system, but are we really practicing that? And it takes a village really to raise our kids. And that from working with so many parents. I know that as a new parent reaching for my village. But I think we kind of lose track of that as our kids get older, and it still takes a village for teens. And if they don't have mentors through sports or through arts programs, that's where there was a big gap, where they're reaching, in my opinion, where they're reaching this self-discovery and maybe finding themselves maybe a little distance to where they thought where their interests lie, or where their family and friends thought, their strengths were, and they're starting to think for themselves a little bit more. And it's harder for them to find adults and mentors, leaders by example, when they don't know, that's not right in their network. And so we're trying to kind of redefine this idea through entrepreneurship, that it's about this one thing. We're never going to put down education, but there are lots of different ways to get educated, especially now, outside of the traditional realms. You can take a lot more control over what you learn and who you learn from. It's also a lot quicker to digest more information with, apps like Audible and that sort of thing. So I think making learning kind of cool again, and again, that like lifelong, you never want to stop learning, because as soon as we stop learning and growing and thinking creatively and trying new things, that's what's left. And then I'm reading this incredible book called The Startup of You by Reid Hoffman, who is one of the, he's the founder of LinkedIn. And he also advocates, entrepreneurship is a mindset. And early in the book, he talks about how we've typically planned for our careers in this model of, okay, what do you want to do 10 years from now? Like, what are you passionate about? And what job title could you match to your personality? And we're trying to get away from this idea of a job title defining your future, and more really developing you as the individual, because these job titles, with the rapid pace of technology and the speed of which the workplace is changing and evolving, job titles don't exist that our kids are gonna be interested in. Those opportunities don't exist. So it's more about plugging into you and getting yourself agile and lots of skills and dynamic experience. So it's really about you centered, the startup of you, and then a career will build. But it's no longer a static job or one goal.
Right. And it doesn't mean that going to university or college, you're not saying that not to do that, but it's just keeping your mind open to the other things that you can get educated on, or different experiences, different mentors that you can reach out to and help get help from, ask questions. And I think that's the really cool thing is I've had, because my background as a child life specialist, a lot of people don't know what that is, and it's a psychosocial role for children in hospital. And then I've gone on to do different things because of that role. But I've had so many people say, can my teenager call you? Like, can they talk to you? And I love that. I don't think there's a lot of people that would say no to somebody asking them questions. It's just being specific, not just that whole, like, can I pick your brain idea? Like more like, I want to know how you got started, or tell me more about, what you love about your job.
Yeah,
And
what's a day in
kind
the
of,
life of what you do? Yeah.
yeah, like fostering, allowing your children to explore, right? Because I think what I see with parents is when they get anxious, um, they kind of set boundaries, and it comes across as kind of like an anger, right? So like when it's like, no, don't do this, like that's a pipe dream, that's silly. Yeah, you can have a lemonade stand, but that's a lot of work. And you know what, like, I'll just give you an allowance, or here's $5, you can go, get whatever you want. And lemonade stand is very trivial and little, but if you've got a child that wants to do some of these things, how do we start those conversations, or maybe not even start those conversations, allow a child to think outside of the box and not be stifled by our anxiety to think, what, are you not going to go to school? Does this mean that you're just want to be, an entrepreneur? And there's a lot of negative I've heard. I watch, you watch the TikTok and all those things, and, the comedians that are making fun of millennials that are, life coaches, and what do they know about life? How are they starting? Just get a real job kind of thing. Like, you see a lot of that, and that's coming from a lot of judgment and a lot of fear and not understanding. So if your child comes to you to say, I don't know, like everybody's talking about being this or being that, I'm not quite sure, this is kind of interesting to me. How do you keep that conversation going? Or, where do they go? How can they learn more? What are some of those venues? I've asked you a bunch of questions. So one is the one I've asked you a bunch, sorry. So one is, how do you keep the conversation going? And then the second part is, where can you lead them to?
I think the first, response is to keep the conversation going and to try and hold some of your fears or your own anxieties back and give them some room to explore. Also knowing, like, through our program, for example, we're all entrepreneurs and business owners, and no one in that room is going to say not to go to school. We're very much, but being educated is so important. How you get the education is starting to, there's some more room there to choose. But many of us are university educated or college educated. But I think it's the idea of fostering an open mind, and also helping your child recognize that if they choose whatever program they're going to choose, to let them know that's their first step, and not a means to a definite end. It's a means to their journey, and it's starting their journey of self. And really, that's what university used to be all about. It was really about, you're becoming an adult. So you're buying some more time in some more structure, but on bigger concepts with other people. And I think if we can try and go back to that, and I mean, that is a luxury. A lot of families are, limited in funds, where education is, a huge risk that the family has maybe even come to this country to try and, push a certain direction. So that's a different, conversation, I think. But I think trying to hold back your own worries and anxieties a little bit, and also know, wouldn't it be better to have a really confident, multifaceted, skills, diverse skills, entrepreneur, or a really, timid, only trained in one area. So if their company that has the stable job and pension shuts down, now you're going to have an adult that's kind of lost and flustered, as opposed to, you know what, no matter where they are, what they're doing, they're confident, they're capable, they're resilient, they're creative. And so it's some retraining, because we all went through the system as it stands now too. So we all career planned with that same model, 10 years forward, work backwards.
Right.
So I think, and where to find those opportunities. So, I mean, plugging into programs like ours for sure, where you can meet and actually dialogue with people from other areas and various businesses. Like we have from yoga instructors to tech companies to coaches, to, you know, we have a Team Canada athlete who's not an entrepreneur right now, but she's talking about goals and just, she's got an engineering degree and her BA, and she's just open and a goal getter. We have it's a really dynamic group. And the best way to learn is through doing, right? You know, we both know a lot about different learning styles. So doing some work with your child, and have, you know, what a great opportunity to get connected as, you know, parent and child, to look out for internship or volunteer opportunities, or family friends who might know someone where they can go and volunteer, or just call you up and ask some questions. And like no one is going to say no to a teenager.
That's asking for questions. Exactly. I agree with you. And I think the thing is kind of fostering that in your child, that, you know, even when you're somewhere like, you know, with my daughter Ella, I mean, sports medicine is where she's really interested, because she's an athlete. But because she's an athlete, she's been injured. You know, her body is like, what are you doing? So sometimes, you go in and you see the physiotherapist. She's going to see a sports, like, you know, her physiotherapist works with a sports medicine doctor. And it was quite interesting because, you know, when she was inquiring or asking questions, he's like, come on in here. Like, you know, I'll show you this and I'll show you that. And you need a co-op, you call me. And, you know, and this is where you start building some of those relationships. And I know for myself, I remember, you know, I don't know, 100 years ago doing co-op, and my mom's a teacher, and, you know, oh, I should be a teacher. Everybody tells me, my mother-in-law still tells me I should be a teacher. Anyway, that ship has sailed. I'm a teacher in a different way, not with children. However, I did a co-op and I was like, not for me at all. Right. So trying those kinds of things, volunteering, asking questions, trying things out. I mean, I think those are all really good things. And it's about passion and mindset. And even the athlete that you're going to have, you've got somebody that is, knows how to set goals, knows what falling down looks like, knows what maybe defeat looks like, but doesn't quit. Right? That keeps on going. And that's what I think is great, to be around people like that, because living in Collingwood, the norm sounds like it's not, it's not 9-to-5 jobs, or there's businesses that are starting off that are like small businesses, maybe that have built up, but this is the norm. So that is another thing too, about yourself and also your children, like surrounding yourself with not just 9-to-5 kind of mentality, right?
Well, they say you are the makeup of the 5 people, right, you spend the most time with. And so thinking about that, and I mean, not apologizing for who you are or who your family is, but recognizing that that's all your child knows, and they don't, you know. And same with, you know, the teachers in their building, they may have some, you know, varied, of course, experience, but they all went to university, they all went to teachers college, they all chased a career with a very secure pension. And so they can speak to that experience. And so even if you look around and realize maybe you don't have the network that your child could benefit from, know that there are networks, especially in this virtual world, that you can plug into. And like I said, it takes a village, and we're here to, this summer to catch some of these teens who are looking for some insight, stories, support, cheerleading, and practical, tangible tips, tools, and strategies from our, dynamic experience. But no,
Exactly.
it's so important to listen to where they're at, and
Yes.
to meet them where they're at, and try and give them as many tools as we can.
Yeah, and just let them try. I think sometimes too, when I talk about parents as far as like collaborative problem solving, working together, children saying things, and we get right into, oh, that's not realistic, or you can't do it that way, or that's not the way life is. And sometimes just allow your children to let their imaginations go. And I was watching this little video of an entrepreneurial friend of mine, and she was posting her daughter on the monkey bars. I don't know how old her daughter is, probably like 6 or 7. And she is not given up. And we had that as kids, right? Trying something new, going for it, continuing to try. But as we get older, and depending on, who we're surrounded by, what our personality is like, that gets stifled, right? So if we can keep that going in our children, keep the conversation going, I think that will
what
really
you're
help.
saying with the risk taking, and also with our creative thinking. So there was a study done with a large group of children to look at our creative part of the brain. And when we're all born, like 98% of us have this incredible creative thinking power. And I'm sure you hear all these, my son is almost 3, and his stories are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be up in there. I'm trying to like put a picture to what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I try and I stop myself from saying, no, the firefighter goes in the fire truck, not the piggy from the farm, but that's what happens. So as they enter our, system, then that study showed that by age 5, it was like 50% of the kids maintain that creative capacity. And then by 15, it's 1%. And so entrepreneurship is also this like massaging the mindset, and visualization is a skill, and it's a proven science that it's like like working out a part of your brain, and you can tap back into that creative genius. And I don't mean creative in terms of arts, and of course it could be there, but it's a creative way of looking at a problem. And whether that be a problem in a particular job, or a problem of, redefining your career every few years, I think there's less taboo on pivoting and changing. It used to be like bouncing around, and you would look at a resume as an HR professional and think, oh, well, they're unreliable. And because it used to be about the 20 to 40 year employee. Yeah. And now you'd look at that and think, oh, well, they're so, they don't have enough dynamic experience to contribute to this company. So I think as parents, to really look at the modern workplace outside of our own jobs, like open the blinds and see what's happening in the workplace, and really get comfortable as a parent to know that it is a very different landscape for our kids. Right. I mean, as soon as vehicles become autonomous, the world is going to be so different. And how, just kind of let yourself think creatively about that kind of future, and recognize that's the job market that they're entering into.
Yes, absolutely. That scared me. I don't know what that was on my phone.
Scared me. My kids are back in the house, so that scared me.
And so essentially what we're saying is, let's keep the conversation going, get our children trying things, asking questions, and being aware of our own anxiety and some of our own limiting beliefs and mindset around what entrepreneurial life is. And that, we're not saying not to send your kids to school, but to open up their eyes. And just to finish up, I just want you to tell me what kinds of things are your clients, your your students going to get out of your group? Like, why would a parent send them to your camp? What are they going to get out of it? What are they going to learn? And what are the things that maybe a parent would think, okay, this is my issue, and this is the place that I'm going to send them.
So I am a classic over deliverer. So I have crammed probably like a 12-week program into 1 month, because what teenager wants to sign up for a 12-week program? So they're getting a lot. It's really, again, in my biased opinion, and as a teacher, I think every high school teen could benefit from this program. But I think, and you hear be your own boss, and I think a lot of parents, oh, my child isn't interested in business. It's really about being the boss of their own life and giving them tangible tools and real examples of how to do that. So I think it's for the teenager who's on the fence, or who maybe their network isn't very diverse in terms of a career, and they're just looking to do a little bit more exploring as they're planning the rest of their secondary path and their post-secondary path. So that's kind of our target parent and teen, is just, they're looking for a little bit more guidance. And we're also, we're talking about, if you are like set on doctor, lawyer, dentist, teacher, that a lot of those professions, maybe not teacher, but a lot of those professions run their own practices and have businesses, where they have to do staffing and marketing and all of this. And that's definitely not taught in a pre-med program. And so, just having a business mind is never a bad thing. So week 1 in our BOSS framework, so the B is for believe that anything is possible. So we talk about that mindset piece. We're doing a mindset activation. We're doing a healthy routine for mind and body by doing weekly yoga. So there's a lot of physical activity. There's we're trying to get the kids out for walking and meditation and yoga. There's lots of off-screen opportunities for vision boarding in week 1. We're talking about, what it means to be a heart-centered entrepreneur, and all, letting them think about, the more money you make, then the more you can do to give back to the community. And, if you don't work for someone, but you work for yourself, you define the terms of what your work looks like. Just really kind of big, exciting thinking. Week 2 is owning that that's possible for you. So really meeting them where they're at, and skills assessments, asking your parents and your friends and neighbors, what do you think my strengths are, and doing some really detailed self-discovery. That's also where we're going to be setting some concrete goals throughout the year for them. So some SMART goals. That's when we talk to Lindsay Earle, our Team Canada athlete. We're also talking to Emily Goff, a life coach, that week, about showing up for yourself and taking yourself seriously. We'll talk about digital footprint and online, safety, because so much of what we do now is, everyone can find your history, and it's really important to approach it as a professional early on. And then we also have, a friend of mine, Carla, who owns a now vegan food company, and she came from corporate life and layering passions. So if you're, Ella may, be really set on sports medicine or sports therapy, but she also loves being creative and making jewelry, and not making her look at that as a side hustle, or you got to push it aside. You can do those things quite beautifully together. And as she grows and meets new people and travels, she's going to add to her interests, right? So just giving them that mindset that as you grow and develop, as you should, you're going to change your interests, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that what you've done so far is a waste of time. Then we go into shaping your ideas into an opportunity. So whether that's a business or whether that's your post-secondary planning, but kind of taking this time of investment that you're putting into yourself and coming up with an opportunity. And we are going to talk about, if you did want to start a business. So how do you come up with your product? By assessing your soft assets of your skills, your long-term goals, and then the marketplace to kind of come up with a business plan. We're going to do business model canvas, naming a business, a logo design.
Really awesome.
Lots
Cool.
of graphic graphic design too, which is fun. And we've got some phenomenal young entrepreneurs in that third week. And then the fourth week is about sharing your ideas with the world. So whether it's, sharing your new post-secondary plan with your parents, or sharing a business and pitching a business. So we're talking about powerful communication and presentation skills, and giving them templates for these types of presentations, and just, letting them know that their voices are worthy of being heard. Their ideas are great. They don't have to wait until they're, in their 30s to be successful or to do. If they are motivated, excited, educated in what they need to be educated on, they can do things.
Thank you so much for
having me.
And I can't wait to hear all about this from my daughter. And I know this is going to be the first of many ventures that you are offering.
For sure.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. And you guys, thanks for tuning in, and reach out if you have any questions. Take care, guys. Bye.